I'm going to tell you the most scariest horror story that has ever happened to me. Hi, my name is Alex. I am from London. Welcome back. And in this video, I will be reading from my own diary of horror. These are my own personal stories. So let's begin. The most scariest horror story that has ever happened to me. This happened in 2016. It was one of the hottest summers here in England, the month of June, if I remember correctly. But anyway, my friend Jasmine and I decided to go to a nearby town, which is around 20 minutes drive. We just wanted to get some fresh air because it was really hot. So we decided to go out for the day. We put on our swimsuits underneath our clothes, and we took a bottle of wine with us, and some glasses and a corkscrew. We went to this field where there was an old abandoned house, and this abandoned house was boarded up, and it was like surrounded by these trees. And we were like, yeah, this would be a good place to have a little drink. So we parked the car and we walked towards the house. As we got closer, Jasmine stopped and she said, I don't know about this. This kind of looks like something out of a horror movie. I said, don't be stupid. There's no such thing as ghosts or anything like that. Then we started walking into the field, and the grass was really long. It was overgrown. And then all of a sudden I heard what sounded like screaming in the forest. I stopped and I said, did you hear that? She said, hear what? I haven't heard anything. Then we carried on walking, and then again, I heard the same noise. It sounded like a woman screaming. It was really loud, and it was really scary. I told Jasmine, and she said, let's get out of here. So we started running, and we ran past the old abandoned house, and we jumped into the car, and we drove home. I never want to go back there again. I don't even want to go back there during the daytime because it just gives me the creeps. Now this is where the story begins. A week later, I was driving past the same abandoned house, and I had to brake hard because there was a woman standing in the middle of the road, and she was wearing a white nightgown, and her hair was covering her face. I stopped the car, and I wound down the window, and I asked her, are you okay? Do you need some help? She didn't respond. She just stood there looking at me. Then she started walking towards the abandoned house. She was dragging her feet along the ground, and it sounded like fingernails on a chalkboard. I carried on driving, and I went home. Then 2 days later, I couldn't get the woman off my mind. I kept seeing her face everywhere. I kept seeing her in my dreams, and I just felt really uneasy about everything. So I decided to research the history of the abandoned house. So I went online, and I found this website called Abandoned Essex. I typed in the address of the house, and I found this really old photo of the house. And in the photo, there was a woman standing on the steps of the house. And it was the exact same woman that I had seen. I could feel myself getting really cold, and I could feel goosebumps all over my arms. I quickly shut down the computer and I tried to distract myself, but I just couldn't get the image of the lady out of my head. And then that evening, I started to receive phone calls from unknown numbers. I didn't answer them, so they left voicemails. But when I listened to the voicemails, it was just silence. And then sometimes I would get these phone calls at 3 a.m. in the morning. I would pick up the phone, and there would be a man on the other end saying, hello, is anyone there? And then he would hang up. So I blocked the number. And then he would call me from another number, and he would say the exact same thing. "Hello, is anyone there?" Then he would hang up. And this kept going on for weeks. I couldn't take it anymore. So I told my mom. She wasn't very supportive. She just said, "Oh, it's probably just some guy trying to play a prank on you. Just ignore him." So I did try to ignore it, but it just kept going on and on. Then one day, I received a letter in the post, and the letter was addressed to me, but the sender was unknown. I opened the letter, and inside there was a photo of the woman in the nightgown, and underneath the photo, there was written, "She waits for you." I felt really scared. I showed the letter to my mom, and I asked her to help me, but she just told me to throw it in the bin. She didn't believe me. She just thought that I was making it up. Then that night I couldn't sleep. I was tossing and turning in bed. I kept seeing the face of the woman everywhere. Then all of a sudden, I felt the end of my bed sink in, and I turned around, and there was the woman from the photo standing at the end of my bed. She had a big smile on her face, and she was holding out her hand towards me. I screamed as loud as I could, and then she started walking towards me. She was still smiling. She had a knife in her other hand. It was covered in blood. I screamed for help, but no one came. I tried to run out of the bedroom, but I tripped over and I fell to the floor. And then I woke up. It was just a dream, thank God. But after that day, things just got worse. I kept seeing her everywhere. She was in all my dreams. I couldn't focus on anything. I was so scared. I couldn't eat or drink. I lost a lot of weight. I was really pale. My eyes were really sunken in. I looked like I hadn't slept in weeks. So I told my mom that I needed help. She took me to the doctor. The doctor gave me some sleeping tablets. He said, "These should help you sleep." They didn't. I took the tablets before going to bed that night. And in my dream, I was back in the field. I was walking towards the abandoned house, and I could feel myself getting really cold. I looked towards the house, and I saw the woman standing on the steps. She was waving towards me, and she was smiling. I started running away as fast as I could. I didn't want to go near the house. I could feel myself getting really cold. And then I woke up. The next morning, I told my mom that I needed help. She took me to the hospital. They kept me in for a couple of days. They gave me more sleeping tablets. They said that I had anxiety. But I knew that there was something else going on because after I left the hospital, I started having nightmares every single night. And it was always the same dream. I would always see the same woman. I would always run away from her. And then I would always wake up. And then one night, I had a new dream. I was in the abandoned house. I was walking through the rooms, and it was pitch black. I couldn't see anything. And then, all of a sudden, the lights turned on, and standing in front of me was the woman. She had a big smile on her face. She said, "You've finally come to join me." And then she lunged towards me, and I woke up. When I told my mom about the dream, she finally believed me, and she helped me to plan a trip to the abandoned house to see if we could find out its history. But when we got there, we couldn't get in. The windows were boarded up. The doors were locked. All we could do was walk around the outside of the house and take photos. While I was taking a photo of the front of the house, I heard what sounded like screams in the woods behind the house. I turned around, and I saw a woman covered in leaves walking towards me. She was dragging herself along the ground, and she had a big smile on her face. I dropped the camera and I started running away. I didn't look back. I could hear her screaming and laughing. I just kept running. I didn't stop until I got back to my car. My mom and I never went back there again. So now, let's move on to the part where I tell you the true story behind the abandoned house. I did some more research, and I found out that the woman's name was Eliza Doolittle, and she lived in the house with her husband and her son. Her husband worked in the city, and he would often bring home these strange black bags. No one knew what was inside the bags. But one night Eliza went missing, and her husband and her son were arrested for her murder. They were never caught, and the case remains unsolved to this day. Now I know that I won't ever be safe from her, and that she will be haunting me forever. Thank you for listening to my story. Please leave a comment below and tell me what you think happened to me. And also check out my social media. But I'll see you soon. Bye.